Welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage, everybody. You are looking at the top of a mahogany Singer table that holds a 201 that I have completed restoration on. And some of you may remember when I was talking in my cabinet series about using a number of different products. I had left this side of the tabletop, which of course opens up the small and the larger size, so you can get to the sewing machine. I had left this section untreated because I wanted to try to address the gaps that I had. I had a piece of veneer missing over here, and it was sort of this organic, looked like a sort of a triangle shape, sort of, but very irregular. And then I had this piece. For this piece, I traced out a new piece of veneer from mahogany, from my little veneer kit that I purchased. I then took a fill stick to fill in some of the cracks, and I actually added some stain. I believe it was cherry stain in this case, and then I did the same thing over here. One of my viewers suggested blocking out a piece instead of trying to cut all the little individual edges for that irregular triangle, and I did that over here. Over here I traced the original lines. And I'm going to today let you guys see the final Restore Finish coating that I'm doing. Again, I'm using the mahogany color. The reason I'm using mahogany is not just because the table is technically mahogany veneer, which it is, but I'm finding that the mahogany for this hot table is the closest in color to what was on the table. You may have sometimes when you have any kind of wood, whether it's mahogany or something else, and you may use a different color because for whatever reason the staining and the aging of that piece may resemble one of the other colors, right? So you have to use your judgment based on what the color looks like, not just the name. But in this case, I'm using mahogany on mahogany. Now, you guys can, if you remember, you'll see the dramatic difference that was made over here. So much of what was going on with this table looked like this. And the Restore Finish made a really significant difference. I have not put on, I don't think I remember putting on the beeswax polish, feed and wax that they have. I'll be doing that before I finish the machine. But over here you'll see, and I've got some of the Restore Finish, and if you watch closely, you'll see what it does as I rub it in. And I did not use this before putting in the laminate, and the reason for that was quite simply I did not want the oils from the Restore Finish product to get into the wood where I was going to have to glue something. When you're going to glue something, you want that surface to be dry and clean and free of any excess oils. So that's the reason I did it in that order. And as you can see, the Restore Finish really improves the look here. It doesn't erase every single blemish. It might, depends on the condition of your table. But when you think about the condition the surface of this table was in when I started, it's a dramatic difference. And this table will have a few marks, and I believe that those marks will add to the patina, right? That you know that this is an older table. But once we finish with this Restore Finish product, and now I can go over where I had gone before, there is not on the place where I have the little piece, over here there's a slight difference in the leveling, right? The new piece was not quite thick enough to bring it up to the original level. I experimented with additional pieces, but in that case it was going to rise above, and I didn't want to sand, and so I decided that that's where I would stop. And again, when you're looking at this, you will see a few blemishes, but it's dramatically different than it was when I got it. And I'm going to go ahead, and I may just go over this section again, the one that I had done before. Go ahead and go over it again. Many of you will find that the top surfaces of your vintage sewing cabinets or tables, they usually, if you're going to have any wear or roughness, it's often going to be there. And that's just because they were when the machine was tucked away and closed, people would use the tables for all sorts of things. They might have put lamps on them or radio. People had a lot of radios in their homes, even in 1950. And the whole purpose, the whole goal that I've got with this is to make the table presentable again. And this is a technique I'm using so that a person would be okay having it in their home. And then some of you have vintage sewing machines. You may like to close them into the table as they were originally designed to be put. I like mine to show. You can make little dust covers for them. I like to show the machines, but some of you may prefer to hide them away. And I'm going to be, of course, using the Restore Finish on the rest of the table, and I'll show you. This is an example. You can see some scratches and gouges right here. A lot of times this might happen when the table was being moved, right? Now I could have put some shellac, some cut shellac, and that might have filled in some of the pores there, but I'm okay with that. In this particular instance, I think, again, a little bit of wear shows the history of the table, but I really like the fact that Restore Finish can really sort of tidy up some of those areas. You guys have seen me use it before, and the legs sometimes get scratched. I'll basically be doing the whole table, but I wanted you to see the final product or the final look of the table once I have gone in and put in the new veneer. And I believe it looks better. I think it's improved. It is not exactly original. Let's pull this closer so you guys can see it, sort of looking face down. And again, I will be putting some feed and wax polish on it once I finish with this, because remember, Restore Finish is not something you leave on there, right? So I need to come back. I'll be coming back with a clean or dry cloth and removing the residue of the Restore Finish, because it's not designed to stay on the table. You don't want that. It can eventually pull some of your lacquer off if you just leave it to sit. So again, and I may even take any of the areas that have a little more scuff. I may take some 4-0 or 4-aught steel wool, fine steel wool, which Howard suggests you can try, and then I'll have it ready for a new customer. And again, this will be something that will be presentable in a person's home. Won't look like they just drug it out of a shed somewhere, because sometimes you'll get tables that look like that. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching. Some of you had asked about the table and where I've gone with it. And I took you guys through a multi-video, quite a few videos, step process of how I went through this. I learned some things from this. I find that the little fill sticks work well. You have to pull the fill stick excess off. Restore Finish will help that come off of there. In the future, I'm going to investigate the height of veneers, and I think over here, with such a very irregular piece that was missing, sort of squaring it off was a good piece of advice from one of my viewers. Over here, I didn't mind cutting this because it wasn't that difficult to cut. Some of you suggested I use notebook paper instead of a paper towel to sort of trace out where the new piece was going to be, so I could cut the new veneer. But this was a first attempt, and I'm rather pleased with it overall. But like I said, in the future, I think the color, and I don't know if it shows in this angle, the color is not that far off. But again, I want to experiment in the future to then figure out how can I get the new veneer to be totally flush with the old without sanding. Because if I sand it, now I'm getting into refinishing, and that's not my goal. So anyway, I appreciate all of you watching. There have been quite a few videos in this series. I tried to keep them short, and so you could see them in little installments. If any of you have further ideas or questions about products that you've used on furniture, such as the Restore Finish by Howard's, there may be other products you have used before, but I find that this is very quick. Again, I don't refinish, I don't strip and refinish furniture. That is that's a whole other discipline that I'm not following in this situation. This is more about conservation and sort of sprucing up a table. And if it has a few wear marks, that's okay. Many antiques do. It shows that they've been used. But this is sort of a happy medium that I find with all my tables, and my customers like it when I do this. It makes them feel better about, when people come into their homes or their workshops and they see the tables that many of these magnificent vintage sewing machines are sitting in. I appreciate you watching, everyone. Stay tuned. I'll be coming up with a new series of videos soon. And if you have any further ideas for videos that you would like to see, let me know there in the comments below. Thank you.